Great to have you guys here. And RB, our fearless leader, he wanted me to share with everybody. He wishes that he could be here tonight, but he is out of town. So, guys, apologies, RB couldn't be here. But he sends his love to you guys, and he says congratulations to everybody here. So, congrats, everybody.
Just because I'm running it old school, I want to just everybody take a moment and we're going to give a nice big hi, RB. You ready? On a count of 3. 1, 2, 3. Hi, RB. Because, you know, he loves it when people remember him, and we love him here, so we got to make sure he knows.
He's our fearless leader.
He's our fearless leader.
He's the crazy man that created this community 14 years ago, right?
From the crazy just spread.
Right? From 100 people to 1.3 million people.
Oh, dear. And I love this community, so I love that I get to be up here and geek out with fellow filmmakers. Thank you so much, Amanda. That was amazing. All right. Thank you. Okay, just a little bit waiting. So what we're going to do is just go down one at first and just make sure that we know who we're talking to. So this is kind of a past situation. Over here, you got your microphones. Just start with your name, what film you're with, and where from around the world you are coming in from. Go.
Hi everyone, I'm DIXON. I wrote and directed Sometimes I Imagine Your Funeral, which was the addiction brother-sister story. I hiked all the way up here from Culver City.
And I'm Scott Rice. I wrote and directed Treasure Imagination, which was the little boy Indiana Jones movie, and I came in from Austin, Texas.
I'm Samantha MACADAM, writer, director, and editor of Prom Night. Came here from Canada.
My name is Matthew KRAVCHUK. I'm the writer director for The Lone Piper. That was the period French Indian War movie, and I'm from Brooklyn, New York.
My name is MILLIE. I am the writer director of The Visit, which is the film with the creature and started with the humming, the mother, dying mother, and I came here from New York City.
Hi, I'm KATY DORE. I am the writer of Perfect, the first film on screen. My name is LAMBKIN. I was co-director for Perfect, and I'm from Palm Springs, California.
Hi, I'm Robin, and I'm the director of WEI-LAI, the last film.
And just for a case for a moment, Ron, why don't you come down this way so I can get some light on your face? Yeah, man. Thanks so much. Oh, bless you. Look at that. I love production people. They just know. They just in. All right, so since we made our way down that way, I actually we're going to come back this way. And I would love for you guys to tell us about the biggest challenge you had throughout your filmmaking process. It could be during the pre-production, it could be during production. What's the biggest challenge you faced, and how did you overcome it?
Wow, I have to start this. This is interesting. Well, I came in actually as a broadcast journalist. I was in the news media for a long time, and we were with Palm Springs Women in Film and Television. We have a Filmmakers Lab, and there were some people that believed in my talent of storytelling and said, hey, let's have you co-direct. So I think the biggest challenge for me was just working with a team and collaborating as we did to make something fabulous. I think in broadcast journalism, we do work as a team, but we work very individual in putting our stories together to tell people what's happening in our world. So I think that was the biggest challenge, but it was also probably the biggest blessing for me to see how so many great creative people can put their 100% into what they do and make something fabulous. So sometimes those challenges can turn into a positive. There are many challenges along the way. I think working with a co-director is always a bit of a challenge because sometimes you have different ideas of what you want. But it's a learning experience. I think just keeping an open mind and being flexible and hold to your guns.
And cheers to almost like the double lesson there of collaboration, right? Because if you're used to working by yourself, you need to do collaboration in the filmmaking process, and then there's an added aspect of being co-director. That's a really incredible insight. And now you know. Now you're ready for the next one. Good.
I guess mine is similar to Lauralee's in that I'm accustomed to writing and directing the work that I do. So for me to write and turn it over to others was a little challenging.
So that was a good lesson for me and an interesting exercise to see how it evolves and changes.
Nice stuff and great. Were you on set still for that?
I did get to be on set, yeah.
So there's still a little taste of that. You didn't completely relinquish it, but still the boundary was there.
No, yes.
I love that. Go ahead. This is prom night, right? No, the business. I remember.
Hi. I think my biggest challenge is the making process itself. The visit started when I finally gathered the courage to say goodbye to my grandma, who raised me. She passed away more than 10 years ago, and it has haunted me for more than 10 years. So, a quick story. I was raised by my grandma when I was 14 on the second day of Lunar New Year. She was taken into the hospital. It was an emergency. She came back a month later with sunken cheeks and hollow eyes. She became almost like a taboo in the family that nobody gets to talk about. And at the time, I couldn't count how many times I would wake up in the middle of the night to her horrifying puking sounds. I didn't want to think about how she was dying. She was physically deteriorating. So what I chose to do is to avoid her. I didn't want to see her. I didn't want to remind myself that she is actually dying. When she passed away, I didn't even have the courage to go to the funeral. I was in denial. So yeah, I think the making of the visit was part of my own healing process, but being able to showcase the film to you guys, it's a way of honoring grief as a universal experience with everybody.
Yeah, that is so powerful. Thank you so much. And I have to just say, that's the beauty, right, of art, is in the moments as humans, when we cannot be strong, we can still pass on that lesson to others so that they can be strong. And so thank you. Thank you for just being vulnerable and sharing that. It's really great. If you didn't hear it, that was a moment for applause. Vulnerability is to be celebrated, so cheers to you. Thanks so much. Matt.
Hi, yeah, I guess my biggest road bump, I guess, it was more or less twofold. So this was the first short film I ever made. I made the decision to self-finance and finally get off the horse and finally do it. You know, it's something probably everyone struggled with. But it's just kind of proof that like if you have a right team around you and you take the time and finally do it, you know, you stand a chance. Logistics probably was the biggest issue. Just obviously it's a period piece, and like one thing you should never do with a short film is period. It needs a lot of resources. Surprisingly, this is gonna sound crazy, but it probably only cost $2,000 to make that period. You know, because you have to be smart about it. You know, we were able to find furnishing and more reenactors who brought all the props, costumes, and a free location. So there's the period of it all. The catch-22 was we had to travel to them in Pennsylvania, Peach Bottom, Pennsylvania. Crazy town. It's the middle of Orange country. So I did this, this whole session opened up with having the right team around you, and you can honestly pull off something pretty special. So, logistics.
Yeah, cheers to logistics. And Billy, let's just take a moment and celebrate. And anything historical on a short budget, cheers to you, man. That's amazing. And traveling to do it. So you filmed on location and the added budget inflation of also having production stuff. It's incredible. Thanks so much for that, man. Our friend from the north.
Yes.
Prom night.
Yes. My biggest problem, I think, was that I didn't know anyone in the industry, or I wasn't in the industry yet either. So yeah, that was my biggest bump in the road, not having money or contacts. And at the time, I was on maternity leave as well, but I really had this it sounds savvy, but the truth is, my daughter, I was looking at her and I was thinking, when she grows up, if I want to tell her that she can be anything, I really gotta believe it myself. And I was offered a full-time job at a broadcasting company with a pension and all those things, but I knew that's not what I really wanted to do. But the biggest problem was I wasn't a name, and also they weren't taking me serious being, I think, female, a mom, that it was hard comedy. But I love like Will Ferrell movies. I love like, Hangover, Bridesmaids, and stuff. Just because I have boobies doesn't mean I can't do it. So I had to show them. So the biggest problem was not having money, resources, or knowing anyone. But I just wrote it, and I got IMDb Pro for free because I was on mat leave. I got the trial, and I got one of the lead actors' contacts, sent him the script. I was a trailer editor. That's what I did for my 9 to 5. I cut a fake trailer, sent that off with the script, and he signed on. And from that, I just applied for a grant. Never did that before either. I did it around my daughter's bedtime, stage 5. But luckily we got the grant, and then it all paid together.
Y'all, are you taking notes? That was gold. I'm just gonna put a little end cap to that. For the record, I love it when people come with that kind of real, tangible information. One, because we're all filmmakers here, and anybody who isn't, we're happy to inspire the next generation of filmmakers. And if you don't hear this at a film festival, please go on STAGE32.com. Because the purpose of it is that you can keep the momentum going after the festival. So keep those really tangible conversations going, because we want you to do good work. And that was a phenomenal, just little checklist of things you can do to make it through the door. So I really appreciate that. My friend from Austin.
So my big challenge was technical. I had never shot virtual production before, so that whole film, which we had a city street, the cave, and the jungle, was against an LED wall on a virtual production stage. And I'd never done it, so I learned to do it, very much thanks to Nate Strayer, who's in the audience, the producer. He owns the production stage, virtual production stage, and he wanted to do a workshop to show independent filmmakers that not just Lucasfilm and The Mandalorian has access to this technology. So we determined it was going to be a one-day kind of workshop to show people how to do this technology, maybe just a one-shot thing, into multiple shots, 2 days of shooting, and then the challenge became how do we make this whole movie in just 2 days. But it was really fun, and I learned a ton.
Do you mind? I'm just going to ask one question about that because I noticed you worked with a production designer, and my brain immediately went production designer plus LED wall. What was?
Yeah.
How useful was it?
Well, it's really interesting because some people are like, oh, I don't like virtual production because that takes away the production designer's job, and not at all. I mean, there was a lot of practical set that we built, the floor, the rocks, the skeletons, all the plants in the jungle were practical. So there was still a lot of practical stuff that we had, and then the challenge became making that seamlessly work with the background and try to hide the scene between the flat wall and what was in front of the wall.
Yeah, I love that. Cheers to you on your virtual production. It's so exciting. All right, my friends, sometimes, for the record, you're my gold star winner for this time. Every time I do one of these Q&As, I'm always like, there's one person who gets me. And I remember this time, I did not wear makeup, so it didn't smear. Thank you for that. Tell us about your biggest challenge, sir.
I think for me, the biggest challenge was emotional. As you saw in the credits, Sometimes I Imagine a Funeral was based on my relationship with my sister, who passed away in 2021. And so, as a filmmaker, I was processing the grief, at first not through a script and a film, but just on my own and not doing it very well. I'd written a letter to Lauren before she died that I never sent. That was called Sometimes I Imagine Your Funeral. And about a year after she passed, I had a draft of the script, but it took about 2 years after that to get to the point emotionally where I thought, okay, this is something that I want to do and something that I can do. And so it was just a matter of putting on my director hat at times, and then also keeping my emotional self present throughout the process. And it was really rewarding. It's allowed me to come to places and talk about this loss that my family experienced in a way that I don't think I could have before. So it's been great.
And cheers to that you were able to kind of tune into both, because again, I think it's hard for sometimes people to remember that yes, we're filmmakers, we're also people, and you have to make space for that human aspect. You can't always merge to Join with a first Amy. Thanks, man, and thanks for sharing that. I feel like there's a similar theme here with some of our films about like really tuning into that pain and sharing it so other people can learn from it. Yeah, I appreciate that. All right, last, but certainly not least, tell us about WEI-LAI.
Yeah, for me creatively, it would be the tonal balance. I think you're trying balancing comedy and heart. And for me, a great thing about comedies is that it uses laughs to look at pains and make it actually emotional roller coaster, but also, I try to make the kind of comedy that is inherently tragedies, and I think that's what makes it, great. And for me, the film is really about, it's a way that I try to speak to my own father. So it's, the two generations of who lost sort of their grammar of love to really understand each other. So, but to balance, that kind of tonality, they sometimes switch to comedy and heart or vice versa. Sometimes you really feel that you're standing at the edge of a precipice, or you're just, about to fall over. And it was just, we workshop this film in USC in class, and then, you will get comments like, "Oh, I'm gonna call the child service on this staff." But at some point you gotta, really hold your ground, in terms of where you stand, and with every, which actually affects all the directorial process. But also, obviously it will be child actors. I mean, these kids who've grown up so much now in the audience. But when we were shooting there, they were about 9, 11 years old. Yeah, and then they were, you have limited hours working with studio teachers, and I just remember at the time just finding that one last take with studio teachers, and this, you gotta pull the best out of, children, but sometimes I think children are playing themselves. So there you go, that's their childhood, and then, movies are time machines, and just like looking back at it just, make me cry.
Right? Oh, I have one. You're good. Now, in cheers to you. All that, because I have one more question for you. Since you were a grad freshman, part of what I was like, I'm glad you brought up the kids, because my first thought was, that is a challenge unto itself, but they felt so natural. It felt so like a little window into that moment in their lives. And so my question for you is, when you were determining when you wanted to just let them play and feel like they're playing versus you had some mic drop lines that just stunned everybody. When did you decide to commit to those moments of truth versus let them play in the scene?
Yeah, I think working with child actors, especially, in our situation is also bilingual, and you're casting based on instinct. And job for a director, which is, I learned so much from this, is that you're capturing rather than recreating. So I just tend to favor, you have to have a brain that's extremely alert and very sharp. When you see something that pops up to you, that that's me. That was me when I was pulled away by my dad. And that's the way that how my dad would probably respond, where it's like I did something like that. But, and it's all, it felt that truth in that moment, and that's when you can, the script's the blueprint. It points you to steer in a certain direction, but I think you are exploring the emotional, beat by beat. You're exploring that with actors. Thankfully, our actors who play, the parents, especially the dad, Chinese family, they're very experienced actors. So we're sort of really, onto a very collaborative process of actually, minding the heart out of it. It's like a joke that got out of hand.
Yeah. I love that so much. I am a great character for just a moment. Do we have 5 minutes, 10 minutes? How much longer we got? Okay.
They did not tell me.
Yes! That means we're going to ask for forgiveness and not permission. So, perfect. So we're going to stick with 5. Because, that's great. Yes! Go for the 10. Because part of what I like to explore with our filmmakers is the discovery process, right? And I love that you brought that up. The blueprints of the script is just a start. But what did you find along the way? So I'd love to just make our way back down the drain. Thanks for sharing that stuff. When you went through the post-production process, what did you discover along the way? You're like, oh, that's kind of magic.
Well, I mean, I discovered so much because every aspect of post-production, you're moving bit by bit. And not until when you actually do the score and coloring, will you be able to fully articulate what this film is about. It's not really in the script. It's not, but you're moving closer towards there. That's why, first draft is so just frustrating for me when you write a script. Because I thought the movie should be perfect, but this first draft is just like all over the place. But it's okay. And then you have to trust the process that your job is, sort of inspire a team of creatives that you all work towards a vision, that, with all, and you inspire